All right, good morning, guys. We just finished a video out here on the porch, and unfortunately, once again, the video was absolutely horrible because of the lighting. It was really dark. We were facing this other way, and we got a bunch of glare from back on the truck and stuff. And the video turned out really dark. Rather than deleting it, we are going to go ahead and share it anyway. And hopefully you guys will watch it and get something out of it. But basically, we took these plants down here. We have some spider plants, and we had some of this snake plant here, and we separated those, and we're going to get them going for this winter. So I'm just going to let the video speak for itself, but know that it is kind of dark. I apologize, and we will check a little better next time before we put out a video. Maybe we'll stop after recording part of it and see what it looks like. So sorry for the dark video, and here it comes. All right, hey everybody, my name's Corey, aka Pops, and in our previous video we talked a little bit about how things weren't going to go quite as we had planned with the backyard nursery. That things take a little bit longer and they're a little slower to happen than what we would have expected getting into this. So we're probably not going to have a lot to sell this spring. And at the time of recording the last video, we kind of figured we'd get everything ready and do as much laying the groundwork as we could this spring and summer so that we could have things ready for next spring, or at least next midsummer, to start selling some decent sized plants. And then it dawned on me that this is South Dakota and we have a pretty long winter, and there's no reason to be out of business during the winter time. But that also takes some preparation and planning ahead, and we're actually at the perfect time to be doing that now. So we have a few house plants. We have this snake plant that's getting a little bit big for the pot that it's in, and we have this spider plant over here that is needing to be separated because it's starting to get a bunch of little clump offshoots. And if we get these separated and propagated right now, with it being just late April, they're going to have plenty of time in the next 2 to 4 weeks to get growing good, get rooted out, and start putting on some real size to them, so that by the time winter rolls around, we should have a bunch of new little house plants to get on the market during the wintertime when most other nurseries are closed down. So that's what we're going to do. I don't know if it's a great idea or a horrible idea, but it dawned on me, and we figured we might as well take advantage of it and get them growing while the growing season's here. So we're gonna start with this guy, and then we'll move here. And with this one, we're just going to take some cuttings off of them, and we're going to get them in water, and that way they have time to put some roots on before we pot them. So it's a little hard to sell, or a little hard to tell. It's a snake plant, and it's not in great shape. We got this one, we'll call this one a rescue. We got it, and it was full of holes and just generally not in good shape. But we have brought it back to life here. It is doing quite well now compared to what it did, and it actually has outgrown 2 different pots now. So I'm going to take some of these leaves off of it. I'm just going to snip them right off down low. Okay, now once I have a leaf cut off of that, I'm going to kind of cut a V up into it. Now it should do 2 things. It should give me lots of area for roots to form when I'm trying to propagate them in water, but it's also going to tell me which end's up. That's why I know what end to put in the water, and if they ever get mixed up or spilled or anything, I know which end goes up, I know which end gets planted. And we're going to do the same thing going up here. That's kind of what we're left with there, is that little arrowhead shaped thing. And we'll get that put down with this side in water about halfway down, and that will root out probably in 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll be able to plant that, and it'll turn into a whole nother plant like this pretty quickly. It's in the growing season, they're getting lots of light, so we should be able to get those going pretty quick. I'll just cut off another piece at the top here, same way. I'm just going to leave that how it is. So that one leaf, we got 2 cuttings, and both of those will root and form whole new plants that we could sell this winter. So for now, I'm just going to drop them right in some water, but I'm going to get a thing where they can actually stand up. I'll get a better container for them. Now I just don't want them to dry out. And I actually, before we put them in water, I guess, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before we put them in water and let those root out, I'm going to leave them sit out on a paper towel for about, I don't know, 2 days, probably 2 to 3 days tops. And I'm going to let that scab off, and then I'm going to put them in water, and that's going to help them root better, and it's going to give them a chance to actually get going, rather than just try and throw them directly in the water. So we're going to do a few more of these. We're taking off some of these outside, these uglier bit up leaves. But those will turn into some nice looking plants when it's all done. Or at least that's the hope. We'll see, I guess. Alright, so now you can see this has lots of room left in the pot. It's in good shape. We can make plenty more cuttings off of that as we go along. But I think that's a good spot to stop. We got leaves off of it all the way around. And we'll keep letting it get bigger and make sure that one stays healthy so we can keep doing this time after time. Now, I have never, this is going to be a common story on this channel. I have never done this. I've never propagated this type of plant. I have with this one actually separated these before, but I've never done that with this. And you're going to hear that a lot from me. So this is our first try. I'm just going off of what I've learned on the internet. And we're going to do the best we can and see how it turns out. So we've now got 7. This is a smaller one, so we'll probably just keep it 1. We've now taken that 1 plant and we've turned it into 8 additional plants. So we now have 1 plant into 9, and those will grow out. Like I said, if everything goes to plan, those should all root and they should all make it. And probably in about 2 months, we should have actual small potted snake plants that are getting to the size where by the time winter hits, we should have no trouble selling those online for $8 to $10 a pot. All right, set that out of the way. Now this guy here, he just needs repotted, and you kind of see he's gone a little crazy, but we've actually got some blooms off of this one, and he just takes off and goes everywhere. But he's broken it into a bunch of different clumps, and I think we're a little bit big for this pot, or at least for how many we have in here. So we're gonna pull that out of there. We're gonna break it up, and that's how you do this one. You just split it up at the roots, and we're gonna plant him in different pots. We'll put one back in here to keep back where he was, just like we did with that one. The rest of them we'll have split up for more plants. So first things first, we'll go ahead and pull him out of here. And he pops right out. Look at the roots on that guy. He's definitely root bound in that pot, and that's as big as he's gonna get in there without some trouble. So set him off. We're gonna use him. Let's see, we'll go ahead and just throw some dirt in here. Now this is just some of the potting soil that we made in the last video. If you haven't watched that one yet, go back to the previous video. We actually made a bunch of this potting soil. We've got a whole tank full of it out there. That's what this is, and it should work just fine for this. All right, so to start dividing this guy out, first, because he's so root bound, I've got to figure out how to get these split up without just tearing the roots to pieces too bad. Old bonsai tree trick, chopstick. Does really well at kind of exposing where stuff is. And I help you just kind of scrape it all down off the roots and see what's what. And it gets all that dirt. Mr. Miyagi would be proud, right? And don't worry if you're breaking up some of these roots, it isn't going to hurt it. Not doing it this way, you're just kind of teasing them out, but you can really start to see how tight that root ball is in there. I mean, it is just a solid mass of roots. There's almost to the point where there's almost no dirt. It's all root in here. All right, so I think we've got it pulled away from the plant, which is what we really needed. And we could start seeing some separations now. So I'm gonna grab a knife. All right, so I've just grabbed a non-serrated knife. Any old knife will do. Just don't tell your wife you stole one out of the house. You might get yelled at. And then in between, you can see where the different stems are coming up. You wanna go in between those and just cut them apart by cutting straight down into the root ball here. So I'm gonna pick one of these that I wanna cut out. Looks like there's a good one there. And I'm just gonna cut down it.
You're not going to hurt these. They're going to be just fine. There's lots of roots left on there. So this is what you should be left with here, is one of your stems where everything kind of breaks out of, and then a bit of root ball left in the beginning of it, or at the end of it. We're going to set him down in there. Should have the dirt in a different place here, but now this will become the new mother plant. This is the one we'll keep. This is the main one that sits in my living room. And it wasn't the biggest chunk that we'll pull off of that, but what it was is the one that fits this pot the best. It's the one that probably belongs in this pot more than the others. Just gonna set him there for a minute. All right, well, let's go ahead and just cut these apart. Let's cut a few more here. Now I know there's probably scientific names for the root at the bottom we're cutting out and how to do all this stuff, and this ain't that channel. This is barely getting by. They'll either survive or they won't. And there's no hard feelings either way. So we do what we can to make them grow. And if they can't survive me, they probably don't need to be here. That's for somebody else. Okay, so we've got at least 1, 2, 3. We've got at least 4 out of that. We probably could have split that a little bit more, but I think 4 is fine for that. We're just gonna pot these up. And at least for the summer now, all but the mother plant that's going back in the house, I'm gonna leave these outside on the porch. They're gonna be outside plants until the weather starts turning again. And what that means is we can get away with putting them in these tray gallon pots and not in a more fancy house type pot. And this is what I'll want them in to sell them anyway, rather than giving them my good pots. This is the kind of thing I would sell the plant in anyway, so it's in the perfect thing. That way when they're ready, we could just sell them off. And these, once they've had 2 or 3 weeks to kind of make sure they're settled in and they're rooting again and everything's growing the way it should be, these you could sell off pretty quickly. We'll give them a bit of a tap to get some of the air roots out. And then we're also going to soak those through really good, just to make sure we get all the air out of underneath the roots and stuff. We don't want anything turning to rot. Now, I was watching a few of my other videos back the other day as I was editing, and it almost sounded for a minute on a few parts like I knew what I was talking about. And I don't want anybody thinking that's the case. I really don't. I'm really just getting started here. Most of these things are strictly just going off what I've learned online. What I've learned offline in the past few months even. I mean, it's pretty new knowledge, if you can be generous enough to call it knowledge at all. So if I'm doing something wrong here, I guess the point is to say if I'm doing something wrong, be sure you shout it out. Don't be shy about telling me I'm full of crap here, because there's a good chance you're right. And that's how we all learn. So I'm not afraid to learn new things. If you see me doing something wrong here, you let me know. Get this last one going. Now I do have a scoop for potting, but it's over in the potting soil bin. I didn't bring it up. And sometimes lazy gets you. So you work with your hands. All right, so there's that one. So now we have 4 spider plants. We've got 8 snake plants, 9 including that one. And I got a new water canister from a garage sale the other day for a buck. We're gonna just water these in really good, and they should just leak right out the bottom. That soil is pretty good draining soil, so we should fairly quickly get some stuff coming through on the bottom here. It'll take a minute to get through it, but that's what we're after. Let's just get some drip coming out of the bottom. And that's it. So like I said, I think I'll leave everything, all these plants, I think I'll leave them all out here for a day or two, let them finish draining through that soil. We'll move the 2 big ones back in the house, and all the rest of these will be set up out here to root and get going, and then they'll be for sale this winter. So just because we weren't ready for this spring doesn't mean all is lost for 2024 yet. We should be able to make a few ducks. I'm not selling ducks, a few bucks over the winter here with houseplants. And I've got a few more we might be able to break up too. I've got some aloe we could play with. We'll see what else we run into this year during the summer. We may collect more plants yet. So, all right, that's it for this time. We'll see you guys next time.